welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. There's a new podcast in town called Vectrex Radio, which is really awesome. They've done 3 episodes so far, and highly recommend it. And one of the guys who runs that podcast, Willie, who also does the Arcade USA channel on YouTube and various other things, he recently talked on his channel about a thing called Gravitrex, which is actually a new arcade type game with a cabinet that I think is on a Kickstarter, and there's also like a home kit where you can plug in via USB to your computer. If you launch via USB, it plays this game. It's all the details are down below in the description, but very cool. When I was watching that, I thought for sure Willie was going to talk about this Gravitrex, which is out on the Vectrex. And since he hasn't, I thought, well, I'm going to pick up the mantle because this is a really fun game. Now, what's interesting is this is based on Gravatar, the 1982, I want to say, coin-op game, which is this unusual combination. It was from Atari, and it was an unusual combination of 2 of my favorite Atari games, Lunar Lander and Asteroids. You're landing on planets and picking up people in this game. Meanwhile, you're also fighting off these, there's turrets on the ground near where you go to pick up the people, a little bit like Thrust as well. But also to choose the different planets, you have these UFOs chasing you and shooting at you. It's a really fun arcade game, but interestingly, it doesn't get a lot of love. Like, I remember Gravatar when I was a kid, and when I got into MAME and various other arcade recreations, I thought, oh yeah, I totally got to get Gravatar. I love that game. And interestingly, in modern compilations or any reviews people talk about Gravatar, I am amazed at the number of people who hate that game. I think maybe why is because it wasn't like Lunar Lander and Asteroids where you plug in your quarter, you fly around, you shoot stuff, and it's fun, or pick up, land on planets and that kind of stuff. It's a little more of a thinking man's game. You have to sort of combine the gravity control and also picking up people. It's not a game that gets a lot of love, and ironically, apparently most of the old Gravatar cabinets that were not doing very well, they got converted into Black Widow machines. So that's kind of unfortunate. For a game that I enjoyed as a kid, I would have thought for sure it would be beloved by the community ever since, and no, apparently not. Apparently people just don't like it at all. So that's unfortunate. This Gravitrex game on the Vectrex is a heck of a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to fire it up here. Let me explain it before I do, because it's kind of non-intuitive. You start off with a menu of different planets you can go to. Each one has a score, and the higher the score for completing it, obviously the more challenging it is. In order that you don't just sit at that initial screen, these couple of UFOs will eventually fly toward you and shoot at you to kind of get you to make a choice and get moving. And with this Gravitrex game as well, the same thing happens. Maybe that's a little confusing to people. Maybe they just sit there and look at the pretty planets and then they get shot and they wonder, well, this isn't very fun. That could have been a factor. Anyway, let's fire it up. So yes, I'm going to start the game now. I just wanted to explain what's going on, because it's going to be a little bit fast and furious when I do get into it. Also, once I choose a planet, I have to fly. First of all, there'll be some turrets on the ground that will be shooting at me, so I have to destroy those. And then I have to pick up the little people for my completing the mission objective. And if I'm really low on fuel, which is indicated at the top of the screen, I can use the tractor beam to pull up the letter F, which is for fuel. It'll make more sense whenever I play it. Let's get into it here. So let's start a game. So here's my ship up here. You can see I'm turning around and moving. Now, the bad guys are coming to get me, so I better move to this Saturn-like planet right away. There we go. Now, I can rotate down. First of all, let me get rid of these bad guys, because they're going to give me some grief. There we go. They never really go away. It's not like you can defeat those and then have some peace and quiet down here. That never really happens. They will come back, so as you can see here. They're basically to make you hurry up and not spend too much time delaying here. So we get this other turret here. Now what I want to do is pick up my little human friend over here, and to do that, this is where the lunar lander part comes in. I need to hit the number 2. There we go. So yeah, number 2 does that little tractor beam thing. Number 3 is my thrust. Number 4 is shooting the weapon. Now let me just get some more fuel here. Oops, just see if I can do it right. There we go. Now, another thing worth noting, this is not the entire planet. There's actually, if I go along to the side here, there's more things for me to get at, more turrets for me to destroy, more people for me to pick up, and more of those darn sentries there is. Ooh, I thought he had me there. So this is why you need to really keep an eye on your fuel and the bad guys. And let's just see if I can get one planet completed here, because it's a very complicated game. There we go. Get this guy. Oh, also, if you hit number 1, that pauses the game. I've been doing that accidentally a few times here. There we go. And I'll get some more fuel just in case. There we go. And my last person here. Now this still isn't the entire planet done. I gotta go over here where there's even more turrets and bad guys and humans to rescue. So let's just do that here. Might as well get some fuel while I'm here. Is there anything else on this planet? Yes, there is. Good Lord, this planet goes on quite a ways. Now, in the original Gravatar, this was all wider. I think with the Vectrex, since it's a tall screen, they've decided to make it multiple windows. I think on the original Gravatar, the whole thing would scroll. So for the Vectrex, they've decided to make it something that's got multiple screens for you to get through. Now, let's see if we can get that. Since I'm doing okay. Okay, that seems to be everything. Let's now leave the planet. Okay, so let's move on to that was the 1000. Let's go to the 3000. So you can see here we have a slightly more complicated landscape. Same rules. Oh, they got me again. Let's see if I can get down. This is going to be very dicey. And I believe, certainly in the coin-op, the challenge with some of the higher levels comes with, you've got, the center of gravity is actually different. Oh, darn it. Ah, game over. Okay, well I hope that gives an idea of what Gravitrex is like on the Vectrex. It's definitely a thinking man's game. It's a combination of lunar lander and asteroids, as I mentioned. A lot of fun though, and this is a really good recreation of the coin-op original. I would know, because I love that original game. In addition to being able to change the controller, hitting number 4 here, to 6 different types of presets, different buttons will do the 3 different commands, but in different ways. The game also has standard play or arcade play. What's the difference? Well, it's practically the same game. It's just in arcade play, your thrust is a bit more powerful. Anyway, yeah, that's Gravitrex on the Vectrex. A great, great game and a really good adaptation of Gravatar, the original coin-op game. Now, if you don't like Gravatar, you're not going to enjoy this. But if you are a Gravatar fan, just as I am, this is a fantastic rendition. And because it was originally a vector game, it really suits it very well on the Vectrex. Side note, I really also like the one that came out for the Atari 2600. I might do a video about that sometime. It really took me by surprise how deep and good balance of the gravity kind of control that was possible, given it was the Atari 2600. It really shocked me what a good rendition of Gravitar that particular title was. But if you want to play a good vector version, I highly recommend Gravitrex for the Vectrex. Fantastic game, and definitely highly recommend it. That's it. Until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.